Constitution. And as your assemblyman, he will be your voice. He'll never let you down, make him the choice. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We finally had a man who hears your voice. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Tim O'Connor is the only choice. Right in, Tim O'Connor, Libertarian. For New York State Senate, Senate District 51.
All right, my man, Harold Mark Jordan, Hot Vent and the Gideons. Guys, thank you for joining me. It's Friday, October 2nd. We've got an election rapidly approaching. And guys, first of all, this campaign has been one amazing experience after the next. Bottom line, today I was at the Shire Pub in Delhi, and I got to spend an amazing amount of time with an amazing individual, okay? This guy is moving around the state, 62 counties in New York State, to help us spread the message of liberty and libertarianism and third-party politics and the reasons why we need to consider voting gold. As you know, that is Larry Sharp, guys, and he has a show every night. Basically, I'm stealing his time slot because he's out in Western New York campaigning for other libertarians like Keith Price and Thomas Daniel Queter. And so, guys, I had just a blast. We got to spend a lot of time. We got to talk party politics, goals, missions, things like that. And it was fantastic. I felt like I was at a high level policy meeting. And we enjoyed lunch. We had conversations. You guys might have seen some of what I said about how we can fix Senate District 51. And as you know, guys, I will do the work to help fix Senate District 51. I will fight on the state level. I will fight on the local level. I am fighting on the local level. So if you got time, take a minute to look at what I posted earlier. If you have questions, guys, I got invited to a debate next week, okay? So check this out. Next Friday night via Zoom, they're going to put the third-party candidate on the stage with my two competitors. Now, I've mentioned in the past, I don't even like debates. I just want to have conversations with guys because I think that they probably have some ideas that might work for upstate New York. I think my ideas are better. Our libertarian ideas are better. I think those things are true. But if you have questions that you think should be asked about Senate District 51, and even if you're in central New York, upstate New York, and rural upstate New York, and you have questions about your area, and you think they should be asked on the debate stage, I'd love to see them in the comments. And I'd love to have a conversation with you guys about them now. You can even grade me on my answers. I'll try to fire off a minute answer and give you the best, like, vote for me kind of deal. And guys, as you know, I won't be afraid to take it in whatever direction I want. I got to warn the guys I'm going to be debating against. If they ask me some sort of tough question, I'm going to what I know. And I know that we need to care for our neighbors. We need lower taxes. And there's lots of ways to achieve that. I posted, there was two broadcasts today, Shelley. One was from the Shire Pub in Delhi. That's the one that myself and Victoria Alexander were at. And we got to spend an extended amount of time explaining some of our solutions. I get a little bit, Larry's presence actually fires me up so much that I lose my train of thought more than normally. And you guys have all asked me questions, and I've probably gotten halfway through the question and I changed my mind or I laugh at a comment. So forgive me about stuff like that. But so I think I did a pretty good job talking about land use regulations. I'm talking about the fact that farmers need to be treated like entrepreneurs. We need to basically open up the markets. And one thing that I want to expand on, guys, when we talk about cannabis legislation, there's literally a race in this country for states and localities to legalize cannabis as quickly as possible. And New York seems to be ignoring the fact that we are in a race to offer successful marijuana legalization in such a way that it can benefit our communities and benefit our local farms. Because in Senate District 51, as I drove through it, I drove out to Homer for a 15-minute radio interview with WHXC Radio out in Homer, New York, which, guys, Homer is exactly, I mean, it just reminded me so much of Oneonta and Cooperstown that it's amazing. They have broken up Senate District 51 into this largely, primarily small village town, rural, kind of combined with college towns kind of situation. So as I was driving out through there are a couple of hemp farms out that way, and I could see them busy harvesting their crops. And as you know, I'm not only an advocate for cannabis deregulation and legalization, take marijuana off of the Schedule 1 narcotics list so that we can legalize it better. That has to happen at the federal level. That's something that's important. But hemp is a great way. It's a great product that grows here. I find that adding it as a cash crop for a guy who's trying to even start a milk business or a meat business, those things can help give us a little bit of rebirth, can help bring some people into the area and start reinventing the notion that we have something valuable here, that it's worth people coming to see. It's worth people coming here and trying to make a life. And I can always give shout outs to people that are here making lives already. And I always try to. So on that note, my buddy Josh Wenger, guys, Warrior Ethos Farms, I've had some of his beef, and it's the Irish Dexter beef, and it's out of this world. I've posted his cars before. He came down to one of my events. He's a great guy. So where are we getting to? Can't wait for the debate. Bring on the popcorn. Yes, Larry Sharp for Governor, Tim O'Connor for Lieutenant Governor. I love that. Larry is really polished. He's a much better politician than I am. I'm more of a zealot, right? I'm more of a localization, and Larry believes in localization too, which I love about that. And honestly, if he was to consider me, I certainly would consider that job. But I think he probably has somebody better from a densely populated urban area that could help his campaign more. So, but that's fine. It's okay. That's what we're doing. We're selling liberty. We can work on it together, and that's fine. Oh, thank you for tagging your friends, guys. That's a big thing that helps people show up and have this conversation. Can't wait for the debate. Bring the popcorn. All right, good. It's around 8 o'clock next Friday night, and it should be fun. I think that, again, like I said, debates. Do I really want to argue with these guys when they're actually putting themselves out there, spending some money? I don't really want to argue with them. I want to share my solutions with them, and I hope that they take advantage of seeing the things that I'm talking about that make sense to you and should make sense to everyone, okay? Liz, oh, thank you. Who's B, Joe? What's up, brother? How are you tonight? Thank you, Andrew. Here's a question. Can we get rid of property taxes and school taxes? No. Nope, not right now, not under the current form of governance, not without voting in libertarians who are going to dedicate themselves to creative solutions as to how we can lower property and school taxes or get rid of them. But can we lower them? Can we take approaches that will free up our schools and our communities to find better ways to fund our projects? Yes, we can do that. We can start by rejecting unfunded mandates, actively rejecting unfunded mandates, and even some of the unfunded mandates that come in the form of like a how would you call it? A poison pill that comes in wrapped in fluffy Christmas wrapping, and they're like, look, here's $200,000 to build something that we think you need, and the actual project costs $400,000, and it's a decent size. Let's say it's a park in a town, okay? And the state, just for example, guys, this is just an example, okay? The state grants a small community $200,000 to build a park, okay? The actual cost of the park as it's designed costs $400,000. The community comes up with $200,000, and the state comes up with $200,000. It's nice of the state to do that, but here's the bottom line: it costs us, the community, for $200,000 extra, plus, guys, the ongoing maintenance for that situation causes an incurring or recurring expense to our community. So when we buy into, and you can apply that example to just about anything: solar panel grants, certain infrastructure grants. You can apply that concept that those things that they grant us money for don't necessarily benefit us in the long term. The things that would benefit us in the long term is less regulations, less expenses associated with virtue signaling. Excuse me. And guys, that's where we've got to move in a direction of. We have to come up with ways to craft less regulations and encourage entrepreneurship all over the state. And I have a funny story about that, since I'm not getting a ton of debate questions, which that is a good debate question. I think something like that, Andrew. And again, thank you for all your effort and everything you do. Something like that might end up on the debate stage. There's definitely going to be a discussion of taxes. Both of my opponents are in favor of lower taxes for upstate New York. The mechanisms by which they hope to achieve that, I don't feel, I know, guys. Plain and simple, I know the mechanisms that they think they can lower our taxes by begging the governor, the king, Andrew Cuomo, for grants to lower our property taxes. They're not going to be successful. Not in a state that's $6 billion in debt before COVID. And after COVID, the latest update at the New York State website is 13 billion. Some people are coming out with estimates of 50 to 60 billion dollars per year of a new New York State deficit. And Cuomo just goes, well, that's Trump's fault because of COVID. And it's like, none of that makes sense. Those aren't solutions, and we need to fight that. Both things. Okay. You have a lot of people that want to hear Queter. We should all want to hear Queter. Queter's race, and guys, this is with all due respect to me. I seek impact. I'm making impact. I know that I'm making impact, and it's because of you guys coming here and asking me questions, having conversations with me, and sharing this message with your friends, and liking my videos, and tagging your friends in the comments, and even having discussions amongst yourselves where I don't necessarily, you guys can argue and figure things out. Okay. So there is a video of me and Queter, and guys, I'm telling you what, of all the conversations that I've had, it's probably in the top 5. All right. It was fun. It was epic. It's somewhere down in my videos. It's also, I think, available on my YouTube page. So the likes, the comments, the shares, if you feel like sharing a libertarian message with your crazy friends, feel free to share this right to your personal page. I don't care. Bring them here. We'll have conversations with them too. While I'm at it, guys, as a candidate, I don't always feel comfortable asking for money, but that's not pinned to the top of the page. But I do need to ask for money, guys. Small amounts help. There's things that we're trying to do that hopefully, I had kind of bigger plans, but because of all the COVID nonsense and stuff like that, we didn't get to do the live events. We were not as successful as we wanted to be in raising money. The money that I have raised has been put to effective use in spreading my message, and I still have some left, and it will be put to effective use spreading my message. You can trust me on that, and that's important. So if you can give me some money, 5, 10, 20, 5,000, whatever, guys, if you are rich and you're sitting here going, all right, this is the crazy guy that needs to get his voice out there, go ahead and give me $3,900. I will use that to spread the libertarian message, period. I'll make noise, more noise than I'm already making, and I'm already making noise. I promise you that. All right. So let's work our way down. Let's see what we've got. I answered this one, right? Yeah. And Queter does have some stuff on his page. I believe it's at Tom for 52, but look up Thomas Daniel Queter for New York State Senate. It's an automatic pop-up, and you will find his page. He has some videos there. He is doing tons of live events, and he is moving around the county. Sunday at 3 o'clock down in Binghamton, he's going to be at an event that a lot of libertarians are going to be at. And check out the video of me and him, man. First of all, he's cute, and he's fun, he's brilliant, and he's a brave soul, right? We know what he's up against, and he makes the most of everything, man. And he's managed to attract a bunch of people to help him with this campaign. A bunch of the up and coming future Libertarian Party giving him a hand trying to get him elected, and he's worth checking out. All right. Can we start taking a stand against Cuomo and remove him from office, either by the Senate? Andrew, first of all, that's a beautiful question, man. It touches me in my heart. Can we? And it always goes. And this is something that could in some form or fashion make it to the debate stage. The bottom line is, guys, we are underrepresented by our current legislative body. They do not actively oppose Cuomo. They granted him this as executive authority that he has until April of 2021. There was some sort of talk about how it was supposed to be sunlighted after 30 days, or daylight or sunsetted after 30 days, and that they were going to renegotiate it. And guys, that never happened. But the bottom line is representation, because where we're getting representation is from guys like Rand Paul, who are calling out Andrew Cuomo's problems with his response to COVID. And I can be polite to him. I believe that the situation was just too challenging for him to handle. He had monetary considerations that he thought he needed to include in every decision that he made. And guys, the bottom line is that those decisions were not appropriate, and he needs to be investigated. We need to look at the money trails. We need to decide whether his decisions were influenced by his political supporters, people that give him money. We need those answers, and we deserve those answers. And our current legislative body should be demanding those answers. And those are the kind of things that Rand Paul from Kentucky, Rand Paul from the welfare state of Kentucky, who does not have anywhere near the size of our budget deficit, that guy is offering us representation in upstate New York. And guys, I'm calling out all of you guys that work for the legislature. You have not done your job and Democrats and Republicans, you have not done your job representing the people that hired you and pay you to take care of business. You haven't, and you need to do a better job, period. And it's Friday night, and I'm grumpy, and I've already been live on the internet once, and so I'm going to tell it like it is. And that's how I'll tell it at a debate too. This is a dynamic that will never happen. He won't get arrested. We can make information public about how he handled the COVID response. We can talk about it, but there's a certain amount. And again, this goes to the whole issue of qualified immunity that we talk about. And when we talk about qualified immunity, it applies top down, left to right, bottom to top, bureaucrat after bureaucrat, judges, your tax assessor. I mean, it applies to everyone. So no, he's not going to get arrested out of office. I don't believe. If I was elected, would I actively pursue a real investigation against him? Yes, I would, period. And we would talk about the evidence that we get presented to the floor of the House, because that's public information. The floor of the Senate, excuse me. So yeah, we'd love to have that happen. Those are the things that we kind of fantasize about, that we can put these guys in cuffs and frog march them in front of a cadre of press troops with them yelling questions at them. That won't happen. You can look at Sheldon Silver, and you can look at the guy before him. I want to think his name was Joe Bruno. These guys abused the power of their office. The other guy too. One more guy. Somebody put his name in there. These guys have definitely abused the power of their office. They did not get arrested or investigated while they were in office, period, because they know the law, the legal system knows that they can't effectively prosecute them when they're serving as a representative. I'd love it. That would be a huge honor for me. Like I said, I don't think it's realistic. I mean, I'm willing to popularize liberty. I'm willing to sell liberty. I'm willing to talk to any group of anyone that wants to talk to me and is giving me the benefit of the doubt that I am crafting solutions. I think Larry's the same way. I think that is a successful way to sell liberty. And guys, I'm seeing it. I'm talking to people. They're telling me that they understand this concept that we are not being represented. We're not being represented on the federal level because this is some sort of game that they play. It's like a political showmanship. It's like bad advertising. I don't know. It's awful, guys. And I think we all know it. I think we all have seen strange example. Hey, Michelle Ann, how are you? Thank you for being out there. Hopefully I didn't cut myself off, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? This is political showmanship. It's this thing. It's political theater. It's you did this and you did that, and then we end up fighting, and we fight over the things that they're saying while they're probably hanging out, having coffee and lattes and eating bonbons with each other, man. High-fiving. Brother, I'm glad you're here. Thank you. I see some of the things you're struggling with on your Facebook page right now. And brother, I've been there. It is tough to be the guy, the person, guys, sitting there going, well, that's wrong, and this is wrong, and that's wrong, and this is wrong, because people want to be like, you're a Trump fan, you're silly, you don't even, all you're doing is supporting Trump. And it's like, no, we're talking about reality. We're talking about being human beings. We're talking about facts, not fiction. And I get it, man. Believe me, and before I started this campaign, I would regularly have these massive debates on my Facebook page with wonderful people that consider themselves to be liberal. But they could not stop calling me names. I swear to God. And they couldn't stop saying that I was a Trump fan when I would be trying to make fun of Don Lemon. I'd be trying to make fun of Don Lemon. Trump's name wouldn't even be in the article. It would be about something that Don Lemon did. And guys, I can't stand the mainstream media. I don't think that it deserves the respect that it gets. I don't think that we need to pretend that we're getting great information from the mainstream media. And I think we can admit that they deliberately seek to stimulate our reactive minds so that they can raise their excuse me, ad revenue. They do it, man. That's what they're doing. That's why they craft the articles that they craft. That's why they take news stories in the direction that they take them. Period. Period. Exclamation point, dot, dot, dot. All right. In the school I attended, my kids attended, we donated a track field. Okay, the school had no responsibility to keep it up. How do we make sure that the money we save the taxpayers is being taken care of? Wow, that would be a tough one to wrestle with. I think there's answers in volunteerism, right? If we want to donate something, we're going to have to figure out ways of maintaining it. I think local charities, local groups, local nonprofits can say, all right, we're donating a track field and we're going to maintain it so that these kids have access to track and field. We're probably a small school, I'm guessing, and they probably didn't have a great track because I went to Franklin Central School. We didn't even have a track. We used to have track meets, but no track. It was still fun. But so I think we could do something like that. You would have to back it up with community action. And I think moving forward, as we're seeing school budgets getting slashed, I think that if we want our schools to survive and our communities to survive, that we're going to have to do that. And so it's great that people like you have already experienced this. You've already moved in that direction. You've already done the right thing. And we may have to really step up our game plan. How do we get rid of Cuomo? The same way we get of any crony. Strike local gold. And this is it, Ryan. You are absolutely right. And I don't think that I feel very strongly that this is the right answer because I managed to not be affiliated with a party my entire adult life until I signed up as a libertarian. And I always leaned conservative. And I got to the Libertarian Party from being a conservative, from looking at the Republicans and thinking maybe I should be a Republican. At first, I thought maybe I should be a Democrat. I went into the DMV and I was like 21 years old and I registered as an independent, right? And I get this big thing in the mail. And it's like, congratulations on registering for the Independence Party. And I'm like, what? I didn't register for no party, you fool. So somehow they had manipulated the way that the voter registration was laid out at the DMV. And I immediately filled out the paperwork to remove myself from the Independence Party, just so you know. But along came Larry Sharpe in 2018 running a campaign against an entrenched duopolistic power machine, right? I mean, can we describe it as anything else? The Republicans put up a candidate that wasn't going to be successful against Larry Sharpe in hopes that they could put that candidate up again in the future. We got enough people to know him. He got enough name recognition, and he was able to raise enough money to run for something that the Republican Party felt like he could win at some point in the future. That's exactly how it played out. And so Larry, seeing that, and people like me feeling that need, and people like you, obviously, Ryan and Shelly and Andrew, guys, and Michelle, okay, saw that need, and we did the job of supporting Larry, getting this notion that we need ballot access, that a real third party needs ballot access, because, guys, I love my conservative friends. They are so close to how I see everything, but the Conservative Party is co-opted by the Republican Party. It's plain and simple. They operate like Coke versus Pepsi, man. Republicans and conservatives are actually sometimes even worse than the Republicans and the Democrats. They're literally pretending that they're not exactly the same, and they keep somebody like Ola Huatma off the ballot because Ola could have been on the conservative line. And strangely enough, her paperwork got filed late. I'm not even kidding, guys. This is a fact. This isn't me like making conjecture. All right, we could have had a 4-person race for New York 19 with 4 names on the ballot. Can he be brought up on charges when he's out of office? Yes, most likely, as if I understand the law correctly, and they may, right? They may bring him up on charges when he's out of office. They may. I hope that they do. But what I hope more is that people wake up enough to not reelect him. And, you know, if Biden wins and he becomes Secretary of State, New York wins, period. I'm not kidding. I'm not even joking. Or if a state is brand, yeah, guys, that's a reality, guys. All right, that's a reality. Okay, and again, I'm not kidding. It's not a joke. I'm not trying to say it to be mean, and I'm not trying to scare people because I don't like that dynamic of politics. All right, I may try to rile you up. I am angry on some level about how politics works in our state. Uh, so if our state goes bankrupt, already Cuomo was blaming Trump for that. So if our state goes bankrupt, he's only going to turn the volume up on that to 11. Have you guys ever seen Spinal Tap? He's turning up the volume that this COVID response thing is Trump's fault. Period. Having you be his running mate would give representation to upstate. You could be his man on the ground. Cuomo goes through. Yes, that's true. If it happens, if we're successful, and I'm not ultimately successful as a Senate candidate, and Larry Sharp would offer me a job as a governor to help him, I would probably accept whatever job he offered me, whatever job he thought I could do well. I would do that job. His last running mate was a guy from Western New York. And as you guys know, there's more population in Western New York than there is in Senate District 51. That's the reason why it's the size of Connecticut. Senate districts are broken up by population. The Senate District 51 is literally the size of Connecticut. We have Senate districts that are the size of a county down towards the city. Okay, so yeah, it would be good. I would be involved in that. If I don't, and guys, I don't plan on going away. So, and I don't plan on winning. It's not realistic, but I plan on being an opportunity for you guys to vote for someone other than the two people that are part of the Republican and Democrat establishment. Okay. And I'm dedicated to that, obviously. So, yeah, would I run with him? Yeah. If he wanted me to, sure. Why not? But he has better choices. He has more popular choices, I think. And people, more popular choices, unless you guys do a really good job of sharing my videos all over the place and people start really loving me, then he may be motivated enough to take me on as his lieutenant governor. And also, we may be able to convince him to run for governor, because I think he's got to be on the fence. He made a massive effort last time around, massive effort, and was incredibly successful, guys. Like, believe it or not, like, it was incredibly successful. Enough of comptrollers. Yes, he goes through comptrollers because they know what he's doing, and he knows that there's problems with it. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And guys, I'm serious. If he offers, I'm accepting. Okay. Let's go to this one. Cuomo's it is, guys. It's a mess. If I was him, I would tell the legislator to re-legislate this situation. You, as an executive officer in a republic, a democracy, what we are, okay, to have been granted that kind of power is problematic. Then everything can get blamed on you, and should, okay. But why would you want that power? Why would you not want the people who represent the people in the state making those decisions and contributing to those decisions and having real debate over the right ways to move forward? Okay. Reminder, guys, the likes, the shares are important. I was hoping from our Central New York group, what maybe some questions you think should be on a debate stage for Senate District 51 or any part of rural upstate New York. What kind of questions do you think a moderator should ask in Senate District 51? And maybe I should have came up with a few myself, but I didn't. So there. Yes, he actually kind of made a name for himself standing up to Mario Cuomo. In a lot of ways, and without a principled guy like McCall, who knows what that guy would have done, because he did some crazy stuff too. All right, here's one. I'm going to write one in the comments. All right, give me a second, and I'll put it up on the screen. Tell me what you think. So that goes up, and I'm going to show it. All right, pilot programs, good or bad? Okay, because that is New York's only tool right now to try to bribe big businesses to come here. Any kind of sizable investment in infrastructure, New York State's only tool is to offer those groups, those conglomerates, those people with that kind of money, what's called a pilot program. It's a payment in lieu of taxes. His father started it, made a mess of many small economies. Well, maybe it didn't make a mess of them. Maybe that's not fair. But um, so good or bad? Basically, the problem with pilot programs is how they get implemented. Do I think that we should bribe um, businesses to come here? Should we bribe a business that wants to build a 700-foot tall windmill with a pilot program for that specific windmill and direct that money to on a certain percentage base to the county board and to the local school board? No, no. I don't think it's tax equity. Okay, we have a few businesses hanging on by the skin of their teeth in upstate New York. And then we bring in a new business and we give them a pilot program. And what happens to that business that's been here paying generations of people decent money to make a living in New York State? Number one, they got to be offended by it. Their feelings. I mean, and guys, I know not everything's an emotional issue, but is if you had invested your life in running a business and it was a sizable business and you'd been paying people for a long time and they all of a sudden just cut a deal for a new business to come into your area. And so pilot programs, could they be better? As a libertarian, would I say pilot programs could be used to grow business in upstate New York? And again, let's go with this specific windmill issue because I think that's a big one. You get a big, huge couple, 3, 4 windmills around a small town like Oxford. All right. They are going to create discomfort for the people that live in the town. So the people that live in the town are going to look to escape that town because they're not happy. What could we do with that pilot program that could directly impact people wanting to live in that town? I don't think giving the money to the county is a solution. Because there's almost no town infrastructure anyway, so I don't think giving the town the money would do it. I don't think giving the money to the nearest school system would do it. But I think if a pilot program was like, all right, some of it has to go to the county to maintain the road and the infrastructure. And some of it's got to go directly to property tax abatement for the people that live in that area. I think that then we can maybe make the case that we came up with a libertarian solution where we put something new in a town. It kind of inconveniences everybody, but everybody's property taxes goes down for it. So even if people leave, the lower taxes in that town may attract people to that area. But again, I don't think we can get over the fact that I don't think we can just simply dismiss the fact that pilot programs are in iniquity. It's certainly something that isn't fair to existing businesses and the way that the money gets spent. It's not fair to people that are inconvenienced by that business or the way their way of life is affected by that business. Let's see. Now let me go back up to. I'm going to try to grab some more questions. Cuomo keeps getting a frick. I know. So if that was a debate question, I would be like, it's a clown show. We need to knock it off. He doesn't deserve that much money. All of these guys get paid a lot of money. They get per diem expenses. They get other things. They get staffing expenses. They get everything paid for by us, the taxpayer, and that needs to stop. And Jim Seward was good at taking stands against that, even though once it got voted through, it still benefited him. And Jim Seward is an okay guy, guys. The guys I'm running against, they're okay guys. They're part of a system that begs for permission, and we need to fix that. Is Andrew running again? That I don't know. I think that I think he's going to have to make that decision. I think he's a good guy. I think he would probably once again be Larry's first choice, and I think that that's probably okay. Okay, I'll take it, man. I'll take it. I will take. Right now, it's an unpaid position. You know that, right? Down the road, though. Down the road, if we get successful, guys. All right, question for the debate stage. What do you hope to achieve if you become elected? Will it help the district to take a firm stance against Cuomo and how? All right, that's a two-part question. I would move to sever that. I think that as a debate question, it would be obviously a two-part question. But what would I hope to achieve if I become elected? I would hope to, number one, do real battle on the floor of the Senate and offer local communities representation, okay, and real discussions about bills like you need 500 hours of training and how 500 hours of training to get a shampooing license, and how these licenses are in fact chasing people out of the state. So number one, less licensing, less regulation, and fighting for that on the state level. Number two, guys, we have to talk about cannabis legalization and deregulation of hemp and the opportunities that that presents to our communities. And we have to frame it as that. It can't be framed as how do we get money for the state to benefit children. And that's, guys, that's how they're gonna frame it when they say, look, we made an agreement with Philip Morris and they're gonna come in and buy 20,000 acres in Senate District 51, and that's gonna be the big weed farm, and the state's getting half of that, and then we're gonna tax everybody when we sell it to them, okay? And we're doing it for the kids, guys, so that the kids can have better schools. And we need to move away from that line of thinking, because that line of thinking is not working, okay? And it hasn't worked in New York State for decades. This top-down, big government solution being forced on little old Milford, New York, being forced on little old Skenevis, New York. It's why our schools are closing down. So, I think I answered the question already. Will I take a firm stance against Andrew Cuomo? I am now. I would continue doing so forever, okay? With an economic endurance for the people of the state. If you mean allowance, maybe. Pilot program should only be allowed with an economic allowance for the people of the state. Makes more sense. Maybe endurance is the word we're looking for. But if there's no very long, yes, for the people, they're useless. But we're so convinced, Shelley, a lot of people are so convinced in the state of New York that the state provides quality of life, and that's the only way for us to provide each other with quality of life. I as having been involved in a local charity and seeing the people come out on behalf of that local charity, and people donating money to that local charity, and me starting a golf tournament for that local charity that filled up, guys, it filled up the first year. People want to support ideas like this, even if money's tight. So I agree. Pilot programs, if they were more directly beneficial to individuals in the community, and guys, I get it, right? There's 12,000 people in a small town. Well, there's no 12,000 people. Sorry. If there's 1,000 people in a small town and they're impacted by a windmill, what would be the net benefit of them getting every dollar of that pilot program? It'd probably be $20. So I get it. It's a little bit challenging, but I think something else has to be done. And then we still have to keep in mind the businesses that are already here. I do have a checks and balance for that. I think that would be something that I'd love to have. That how do we keep an eye on these people? The number one thing, guys, to fix our local governance is that we actually have to pay our local governance, okay? So when you see a guy at a local town board meeting or a village board meeting, that guy is basically doing it as a labor of love, right? There's no incentive for him to straighten out a complicated issue like land use regulations. There's no obligation for him to do anything other than follow exactly what the state says for him to do. And I guess I meant to tell a story, and this brings up this story. Let's say, for example, in Milford, the town of Milford, and I don't want to use names, and I want to tell it as a story because I don't want to point at anything in particular. But let's say there was a guy that was here willing to spend roughly $1 million to build 7 or 8 houses and on property that he already owned. Okay. So this guy wants to spend roughly $1 million to build some houses and sell those houses to individuals. And he's basically got them sold ahead of time. So he starts the paperwork in, say, April of 2018 or let's just, for example, use April of 2019. Okay. So he's ready to do this project, and then he's got to go through a seeker, and then he's got to go through this, and he's got to make the community aware of that, and then he's got to figure out, got to have a survey done, and he's got to answer tons of questions that the local town board has to have. All right, and these guys they're not making a lot of money to do this job. They're not making a lot of money to help see if this project is something valuable to the community. So they're going to meet once a month, or once every 2 months, or maybe there's no other business and then they're not going to meet for a month. So it's out 2 months or 3 months. So these guys need to understand that economic growth is important, and why it would be important is because they're making a little bit of money. Our local town board members are making a little bit of money to be invested in seeing projects like this get off the ground. So this hypothetical person was going to do $1 million worth of business in a local community, building very nice houses. Again, this is all theoretical. I'm not pointing my finger at anyone in particular. The project doesn't get off the ground, finally gets his approval somewhere in, he starts it in early 2019, finally gets his approval somewhere around January of 2020, and then runs right into COVID. And his other revenue depends on tourism. The other stuff where he makes his money depends on tourism. So now all of a sudden, because it took too long to get that project off the ground, that project is now on hold. But think about this, guys. If you have $1 million and you want to come do something like that in New York State, unless you have ties to the community, you want to come here and build houses, and you can see that it's going to take a year to get that project in the ground, to get the approvals from your local communities in the ground. Okay, no one is going to come here. No one is going to come here under that kind of potential disaster for their opportunity. Their money is wasted. It takes too long. They're going to go to Kentucky and build some housing complex near a lake and make money and have fun doing it. It's not going to happen here because it's too complicated and it takes too long to get this stuff off the ground. I'm not even kidding. I'm not saying that what I just said was a true story, but I can say that what I'm saying has some resemblance to a true story. Thanks, brother. All right. So now I got to kind of, let me catch up here. All right. Should communities affected have the final say? Yes. And on some levels, they do. For example, there's a family-owned water park in Greene County, and Cuomo gave pilot program funds to build a tax-free. Now, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? A tax-free water park, give a pilot program to one that's already there, owned by a family, and then fund its competitor. Guys, that is a problem. And that is why that's why families aren't staying. That chases out the family-owned business and benefits some sort of investment, right? Yes. Okay. And guys, I used to be afraid to say this. I used to feel like it was impolite to say it. But you guys can go on Twitter. You guys can check out news releases and news clips from Justin Amash and Thomas Massey and a few other guys, okay? There is absolutely a system, and it exists in New York State, and it exists on the federal level, and they do it to line their pockets, not just their personal pockets, their campaign funds, which they can hire. You know who they can hire. They can hire their family. They can hire their friends, period. But they also enrich their parties with money. And Thomas Massey has a great story about it. It's going to be on HBO. I think we should check it out, about how he was offered a position on the Ways and Means Committee, because that's where the action is. And they were offering to buy his way onto the Ways and Means Committee. You guys know that a committee on a federal level, a position on a committee like the Ways and Means Committee, you had to make a donation to your party to get that position, right? So the Republican Party wanted let's just say a number, $250,000 to get Thomas Massey on the Ways and Means Committee. And special interest lobbyists offered to pay his way onto the Ways and Means Committee. He's the one telling the story, guys. Facebook, don't get mad at me, all right? It's on HBO. Again, it's just a story. It's just a guy talking. I don't want to get zooked. I don't want to get kicked off Facebook. Thank you again for tagging people, guys. I appreciate that. Okay, how would we show that? That's a great question. We cannot show that. And that's another thing that I'm talking about the lack of representation. So if that was on the debate stage, how would I answer that one? Because I think that's a great question. How would I show it? I think that the number one metric that we need to discuss is that upstate New York is losing population at an alarming rate. Okay, our children get educated here. Sometimes they go to college here and they leave. Okay. So when we take a look at the lack of economic opportunity and the overburdensome regulations, and we could refer to the story that I just told, how it takes a year to get a guy who already owned the property to invest money here, we are killing economic opportunity, and we have to do better. And we can't do better when we are forced to live by rules Guys, especially in Delaware County, okay, by rules crafted by New York City, we can't be successful. They've made property taxes too high because we have to meet this requirement. We have to meet that requirement. We are dying under New York City rule. We are. And they prop up Cuomo, period. I don't know. How was that answer, Michelle? Give me like a B plus or something like that. I don't know. C minus. Maybe it was a C minus answer. I don't know that way. I want to fight that battle against New York City, but I think that if we get a guy like Larry Sharp elected and we get a guy like Queter elected and we get me elected down the road, there will be less of a battle to fight. Okay. There will be more economic opportunity automatically in upstate. There will be less of a war that needs to be had. Go Bills! You're right. Let's go Bills. 3-0, right? 3-0. And guys, I respect people that don't like football, but I still do like football. I can literally not pay any attention at all to the virtue signaling that they're doing. Some of it's appropriate. Some of the conversations that those guys want to have, we as a society need to have. So I respect that reality. Okay. And I do respect that reality. And I've done other shows where I've talked about qualified immunity. I've talked about community policing and how upstate New York, especially in our rural areas, has on some level community policing. Okay. Like I can talk to my neighbor who was a cop. He knows guys that are still cops, or some of the cops are their sons. Like, so we can have that conversation if somebody's, it is like having community policing. And so defund the police, though, is crazy. It's insane. It should have never been said. It's the worst metric, worst way to communicate an issue ever. But guys, you could thank progressive liberals and the media that want us upset. So they say something like defund the police that makes absolutely no sense, does nothing but make people upset. And guys, you saw Michelle Childress social out. I don't think she would be like defund the police. What are we talking about? That's not the answer. All right. So let me yeah, your name came up, brother. Yeah, you're famous here, man. You know that. Tiny Zeus. First of all, I want more background on the tiny Zeus Grant kind of deal. I want that answer. You often hear. First of all, hello, Dakota. Thank you for coming out Thank you for the sign. I put it out. Thank you. All right. You always hear about the way Seward or any politician gets money and brings it home to their district. Seward seems to be very good at it, or at least he gets good press. How do you fight for less spending overall and still bring money home from the state and budget into the local community? So if that comes up in the debate, let's think how I would talk about that, because that is a function of the bureaucracy, and because the bureaucracy then hands a check to Jim Seward and he brings it home to his district. I think that that's an illusion. And I would call it out as an illusion. I think that there's a certain amount of grant money. And guys, if it isn't an illusion, okay, then it's a sign of corruption. If you can go in, beg for money from a committee and bring it back to your community, fine. It's also an argument for voting for the Democrat in Senate District 51, or at least not being afraid of the Democrat in Senate District 51 of being elected. So the goal of this notion that they go to the Senate and argue for money and they bring it home to their community through grants that they deliver to the local firehouse, guys, that should be an illusion. If that's real, that's something that we should fight against. If we're going to fund our local stuff through state money, it should be funded from the bureaucracy fairly, equitably, and based on population and based on what the needs of that community is. It should not be a political guy going and handing out a check. And we see it all the time. Delgado handed out a check to Skenevis Fire Department. Like, fine, if it comes out of their campaign funds, that's fine. But if it's coming out of state money or government money, it should not be done that way. And that's actually an example of corruption if that's really how it's done. All right. All regulations and laws, we should just be able to do business and not correct. And so we can always boil down property rights. We can always use property rights, but people don't have property rights as saying, if you're damaging my property with your project, you don't have the right to do that. So on some level, our local communities, Pete, and you probably agree with this, need to have some say in what businesses get built where, but they need to have less say. And the state needs to get out of it for the most part. there are certain businesses in Senate District 51 that should be just automatic. If you want to do this business, we're sending out an inspector. You say the word, we're sending an inspector over, and you're in business. Period. And if I can explain that better, there's a big call for the biggest industry in my area right now, my local area, is tourism. Okay. And so people, individuals in this area can benefit from tourism, guys. Can absolutely, you can rent your house out for a lot of money. Uh, of course, some people don't like it, but why? I don't understand. Okay. All you're doing is having people travel in, stay at a house in a town, and leave. Why should that be such a problem? Why should someone, your neighbor, tell you wouldn't be able to do that, or you need to build a fence around your house? Guys, it should be almost automatic that if you want to rent your house out, especially if you live there as your primary residence, it should almost be automatic. Go ahead. If you're horrible at it, you're not getting any more customers because Airbnb will not, and the other businesses, HomeAway, will not allow people to rent from you if you get too many bad reviews. It's a self-controlling mechanism. Excuse me. All right. So I covered that one because there does need to be a little interaction between each other. We can't just I can't just build a let's just say I live in a houses are relatively. I can't just start distilling cow manure into some sort of the most smelliest, a more smelly fertilizer. That wouldn't be fair to my neighbors. But if I had a couple 100 feet away from my neighbors, I think, yeah, okay, do it. Do whatever works. If I have a big farm, 500 acres, that's someplace where they may say, well, that's a commercial operation. You can't do it that way. That's something that should be stricken. We shouldn't be fighting over stuff like that. It does. I know. I know that I'm unrealistic. I'm on some level. We're going to have zoning boards. We've had them forever. But what they need to realize is when they write confusing zoning laws and when they deliberately give too much power to the government over the individual, they're hurting our economic opportunity. And brother, up here, if you're from here, you've got to realize we're in an economic decline. We have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of acres that are underutilized. They used to produce food. In Otsego County and Delaware County, the states and the counties own a significant portion of our land. They may be the largest landowners in any of the counties. So that's going to be a problem. That's where Senate District 51 is at. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. We have broken bread, and I enjoy your comments, and Larry enjoys your comments, and that's the wonderful thing about what we're doing. First of all, we're all really cool. We are already the smartest guys in the rooms. And I think, Jonathan, we kind of were talking about it in Larry's chat the other night. We've got to figure out how to grow our circles, how guys like Peter, myself, and you get to reach out to other people and bring them in. And I think that's something that libertarians have to get better at. Okay, we're already kind of like we know this, and go read the Mises book. And Friedman had an excellent dissertation on. We can talk on that level, but we excuse me, but we've also got to talk to other people and let them realize what we're talking about. This liberty thing is more important. Bringing localization back. A minus, really? I would have gave myself like a B minus. But thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. That's great. All right. Yes. And guys, I like I said, you can drive all over Senate District 51 and you're meeting people that remind you of people that you grew up with. Okay. And they are coming. Guys, check it out. Oh, by the way, we're getting out to the amount of time I like to do these for, but I got another funny story. I dropped my kid off at Denny's and she was getting in there and I was going in to talk to her about something. And this guy goes, hey, I voted for him. And he's like, so he ended up, we had about a 10-minute conversation. And that's the source of liberty growing, right? This guy's like, you're doing what? I get to tell him I'm running for Senate District 51 and I would love his vote. And he's like, I live in Senate District 51. And it was just a great guy. And I can't remember his name right now, but he totally has already liked my page and shared it to his page. And I was hoping he would ask at least one question tonight. I was hoping he was going to watch the show. But he was going into dinner at Denny's, so he may have pretty much, he may still be at Denny's right now. Who knows? Um, yes, we should invite, and there are, Shelly, in this area, there are a few people that have transferred up here from downstate. As a matter of fact, originally my mom was from Deer Park. My mom was originally grew up in New Rochelle, moved out to Deer Park, came to SUNY Oneonta, and ended up staying. So she's made the acclimation. She's built a life here, but we do have people that bring up city strategies to governance, and they've had an effect on how we do business. And I don't think they see the big picture. I don't think they see the size of our communities and how they used to be much bigger and how they're shrinking and how our some of those buildings that were already falling down when they got here. We can remember when there were families there and there was food being made there. And so they don't have that. All they can see is a fallen down, decrepit barn, and they want somebody to take it down. So yes, we could do a better job of sharing that story with them. I agree with you. And I will. New York City controls Delaware County through the watershed. Yes, but they provide them with services, Ryan. The DEC will stop by and write them tickets if they look at a mud puddle sideways. So they can thank New York City for things like that. All right. And New York City gives them small grants for certain infrastructure improvements on their farms that no local farmer wants to do. We do. Bring it. Yeah, that was, guys. And oh man, we're gonna have to talk about that. All right, let's talk about it. Every single day, guys. We hear stories. Not every single day. That's an exaggeration, but we hear stories of businesses that want to come to our area, and like the $1 million guy that wants to build houses, who hasn't even started yet, which was an allegory. Not well. It may resemble the truth. So like there was going to be a Target. There was going to be a water park between Cooperstown and Oneonta. There was a guy, a farmer who has 600, 700 acres that wanted to use 100 of his acres to open up a girls' softball field camp, like the boys already have two of in our area. And they fought that guy tooth and nail. And literally, I don't even want to say what the conclusion was. He didn't build the softball field. He was looking to build it for his family. He was already up in years. It was bad. Okay, it was bad. It was inappropriate. It would have been better to have that because we have thousands of acres that aren't being used to do anything. They're not growing food. Some of the farming thing is there's like technological advancements. People are drinking less milk. Those things are real issues. But then we try to save farms by coming up with complicated land use things like, oh, that's been a farm for 100 years. We can't change that. We got to do better. We got to let these guys open up their businesses and come up with creative ideas to solve problems. Bills fan, that one counts. The Knicks, all right, they're good. The Yankees, I like the Yankees. You can't not like the Yankees. They're like America's baseball team, or used to be. I hope you do visit. If you do visit, check out my listings on Airbnb, brother. Yeah, so Shelly, they people do come here from densely populated urban areas. That's for sure. Guys, this is Victoria Alexander. Okay, guys, we spent time today at the Shire Pub. She's coming out to hang out with me. And of course, she wrote something really long as I'm getting towards the end of my show. She's brilliant. And that's why she did that, because she's smarter than me. You guys got to think about voting for her. You could come meet her Monday night at Legends Reds filling station, downtown Oneonta. I know probably all you guys have been there anyway. Okay, zoning for commercial businesses require big parking lots, which has led to the ugly suburban sprawl shopping areas, ugly compared to the old. Yes. Strong towns. And guys, we actually have in the Libertarian Party, we have the Ron Swanson of the zoning in Canandaigua, New York. Okay, we've got this guy named Eric Cooper, brilliant dude. Okay, he has read books, he's done studies. He's more than willing to say that parking restrictions are ruining basically a lot of our culture. Okay, we're losing abilities to rent out our houses. We're losing ability to do sensible developments because of parking restrictions and other restrictions that the government forces on us. And guys, if Victoria is offering or a website to go learn about something, and you want to learn about bad zoning, because bad zoning, even in small towns, causes problems. Go to that website, because if she's making the recommendation, it's worth checking out. All right. All right, so guys, I'm at an hour. I think that is all you guys could probably stand me for on a Friday night. Um, I'll try to pop up some more uh, quick little questions and say goodnight to you all. I very much appreciate all the comments. I very much appreciate all the likes. And guys, it's a popularity contest. We're selling happiness. We're selling liberty. Those two things make a lot of people more happy. We need to all work together. We need to have fun. We need to grow our circles, man. We need to work on growing our circles. We have an opportunity to assist keeping Libertarian Party ballot access. All right. Yeah, there's a lot of money for conservation practices. Yes, I do think that money sometimes saddles us and even small farmers with difficult infrastructure to maintain. But Dakota, you're a brilliant kid. If you want to share more about your understanding of it, fine, I'll listen to you. But you drive through Delhi now and Walton and stuff, and people are gone, man. It's a ghost town over there. Yeah, of course. They just come up with some witty guy who took a class, says, "What if we do this?" And the other 5 people on the board go, "That's a great idea. Wait, why are we doing it?" And so they do. They need to get paid enough that it's in their best interest to do these things, to really move forward with better zoning, better rules, and rules that benefit the communities, guys. And you know that I'm a localist. I'm fighting for localization. I will continue to fight for localization even after I lose. I won't lose the debate, though, guys. I don't think. I'll put it on my Facebook page. It's supposed to be a Zoom thing that everybody can watch, so I'm going to be doing all of that stuff. Guys, thank you for joining me Friday night. Let's all enjoy an adult beverage later, and take care, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you all for being here. I had a blast. And we'll see you soon. Monday night, Reds. Me, Larry, and Victoria. And Andrew Hamill. I'm sorry, but I keep forgetting about that. Maybe even Jake Cornell, if he's not busy, he's going to come down and pop in and say a few words. All of that stuff is awesome. Take care, everybody.